what was it like rolling up to Hardline for the first time? And for listeners, Dan and I were at Rampage together, so we've got a sense of massive scale of things. Like
Yeah.
Rampage is one of those ones where you get there and you're like, TV cameras will never do this justice. Like, it's mental.
Yeah.
How did Hardline compare to that?
First off, when I walked the track, I was pretty shocked at the length of it. It's so high speed. It's just over 3 minutes. So if you're going really quick, it's say 3.5 minutes. Or for the super quick, it's under 3:20. And that's race times. But the length of it, like it took ages to walk. So that was kind of first impression was that, and then just the size of the jumps and also all the features that don't really translate on screen, that people don't even talk about, no one even breaks down. Like, even the small stuff is pretty big, and then if it's not big, it's technical. And there are roots and rocks, which is another thing I noticed on track walk, and then it only gets rougher. So straight away, all the stuff that you read about, in the comments when people love to share their opinions, all the experts, and it has everything. It is a proper course.
Yeah, well, I guess like Rampage, like if you're going to build features that size, they have to be groomed. One, to get the speed, and like two, to not crash into trees and stuff. But how does Hardline compare to a World Cup track, would you say? Like being there on the ground now, like seeing, you talk about it being technical, yet there's still those big jumps.
Yeah, so I'd say in comparison to a World Cup, straight away and now I've really understood this, not that I've actually hit a 90-footer because I've no real intention, it's very scary. I think that's a younger me kind of thing. But to get a gap, to like nail a gap that size and pull it off consistently, you need to have the entire run in needs to be just basically perfect, or you need like all the ingredients need to be there. So the gradient, and then how long a run in is, and then maybe some sort of feature before that you need to clear, no break, and then do the massive gap. They all need to be perfect, and then you need the space for them. So generally World Cups, like obviously no World Cup has a gap that size, but they generally don't have the space because they're feature heavy at World Cups, or the track changes so much. Whereas in Hardline, you couldn't allow a section to say change or mature and then have a jump that size, because there'd be so many crashes, or you just wouldn't make the gap. So I think that was the big difference, is like the parts in the track where it's up to you how fast you want to go, they're left raw. And they do change, and then they're fine in different weather conditions. Whereas the parts of the track where it gets really serious, you've, I don't know, like a 30-foot drop, 30-foot plus vertical drop. They have a section or two before, just like Rampage, where you have to go a certain speed, whether you're racing or not. And in Rampage, how they did it, I remember Brendan Fairclough told me, he says, you see that roller down there? He says, I roll up to that, brake, and then basically go from a standstill. And Hardline has the same approach, and that's how they managed to achieve somewhat, safe but massive features.
Yeah.
So I think,
consistent speeds for all riders, given those control points.
Yeah. So I guess that's the big difference between World Cup and Hardline.
Cool. Yeah. Do you know, did you get much of a history lesson into who kind of built the track, or like how, just the scale of those jumps is like, I don't know how you would have, it's like never been done really that big. So it's like, how do you sort of eyeball it to be like, that 90-footer should work? Or is that
I think so. I'd say, I was talking to Simon French about this, and he's I guess you could say, the director of the bike park. It's
boss
his
man.
baby, but he's the boss. And he saw Hardline happening for years in Wales. He's a man with like some big goals as the director of the bike park, and he went over to Wales himself when he heard whispers that there could be an opportunity to make or to have another hardliner to be the host. So he flew himself over and watched Hardline in Wales. I don't know if it was, say, 2 years or a year before Hardline Tasmania came to be, but he went over, and I love this about him. He was like, yeah, I think we can do this in Tasmania. So yeah, he then worked with Darcy Coots, who was riding there like this weekend, or this weekend gone, and then Dan Booker as well. And then he has his in-house dig teamer, the park crew that are already working there, and they all can ride really, really well. And then, yeah, by hook or by crook, and that's where it gets difficult. Like at some point, people have to start testing these features. And that, I know Macmillan had a big crash, a huge crash testing the Creek Gap
Like
at the
years,
start.
was that a few years ago? Yeah.
Yeah, so it was before, I don't know the exact date it first happened, but it was like about 2 or 3 months maybe before the actual race happened. So I remember the hype around the initial race was kind of a combination of excitement and actual like terror, because they weren't sure the course would actually run.
Oh,
And that's what you're dealing with. And like I've talked to Sam Reynolds at length about Darkfest and how all of that came to be. And there is a lot more of a scientific approach to it now. It's not as much bro science as it used to be, but it took them a long time to get there. And they have all their kind of measurements and numbers that they actually kind of keep to themselves. Like it's kind of something it took them a long time to achieve. And then they, everyone wants that label of biggest jumps in the world. So
they
although
don't
they
want
want
anyone
other,
else to be able to build those big.
kind of like, I mean,
Just in
I
case
know
the kids out there are like, yeah, I'm going to build a 90-footer.
Yeah, no, it's like, honestly, when you watch like Simon stood on the side of the track checking wind directions, wind speeds, and then the speed of the riders going into jumps, he can categorically tell you if you're going to make it or not. So
Crazy.
if you don't have people there that you can trust, that you can follow in to hit a jump that size, or you don't have someone like Simon on the side of the track that will give you the yes or the no, like he was green lighting people. And it's kind of,
they have like a
yeah,
green
Like a
flag,
flag, like a literal flag.
so, well, everyone has a walkie-talkie, all the marshals, and he would be on the phone or the walkie to each individual rider if they needed that kind of like deeper knowledge or insights, and then he'd talk them through. And then, yeah, once he said it was clear, and I talked to Ryan Gilchrist about this. He just heard his number, rider 13, dropping. He said he just pedaled from his mark, which they all have that, like for each kind of segment of the track, you have a starting point that they've factored in. And everyone goes, okay, 2 pedals in there, pump, tuck, no brake, and then light pop or no pop or full pop. So it depends. Some of it's a little bit to do with body weight. Like I was watching Jackson, he's super light. He had to give it quite a good pull on some of the features. So this is, the best rider in the world, even when it was dry and no wind, and he's speed tucking and he still had to pull. So that track is pretty on the money of like what's possible, especially with their gradient.
Yeah. So I guess there's not really any like brake check.
No.
Yeah.
Like
that's not you're not telling people like you got to drag brake a little bit, like little
No,
feather of the brake. It's like, no, you got to go as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah. So, and that kind of like, honestly, it starts to make you think like, should I get a bike and could I be doing this? But
you should.
No,
I would back that.
It's so,
Does it?
Yeah, it's so scary. That's the problem. I spent the whole weekend just looking at jumps, thinking, could I go off that? Should I try that? Should I ask someone? Can I? But I will say, yeah, there's one area that they do have to drag brakes, and I saw some people get it, kind of wrong. Is after that wooden drop, so it has a slightly downward facing drop. I think they call it the cliff drop, and you have to slightly turn off it. When you land that, you come flying into a huge berm, and they have to drag a little bit of brake out of the berm. But as we all know, if you're going really quickly and you drag a little bit of brake, all you hear is wind through your peak. See, sometimes at a high speed, you don't know how much you've dragged, and everything is down to like 1 or 2 kilometers an hour difference here of like casing or overshooting. So I saw a few
Mhm.
overshoots and a few cases on that jump. But usually the lower part of the course is just no break. Like Ronan told me from before the container drop to the finish line is no breaks.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's fast.